There are so many catalysts in this market right now, but tariffs definitely sits at the very top. Right below them, it's earnings. We've got that. We're going to cover that. We're going to talk about tariffs and earnings. We got too much to talk about, but we're going to get after it. Giddy up. Welcome to the Rebel's Edge. I got my main man right now. I got him. He's standing right there. Look at old Nugent over there looking great. John Najarian is not here today. I got my man, Justin. Justin, we're going to get after it. We've got a lot of earnings to cover and some talk about some tariffs. We know that. It's an everyday thing now, so that's all part of what we do. But it's a pretty interesting day already, isn't it?
It definitely is. Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to talk about it all.
Yeah. Well, let's start right off with macro, right? I mean, on the macro side, I've been saying this for a long time. Earnings can have the potential to actually save this market. And that's exactly what we are seeing, because tariffs and the talk and all of that has certainly been pushing on the markets. And we've had some markets getting hit to the downside. But it's been about a week for us to actually worry about that. We had that huge day last Monday. I got to tell you this, I think when we've got these earnings, and this week is huge when it comes to the earnings in terms of technology, the Mag 7, I think that's going to really turn these markets to the upside, because the strength that we are seeing still is there throughout this earnings since we kicked off at the financials. I got to tell you, Justin, it's been absolutely incredible to the upside from the earnings perspective.
Pete, you literally took the words exactly out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. We're going to get so many more headlines. We're going to hear about the jobs report, but you know what matters more than headlines is earnings. Exactly what you said. I'm not going to burn any more time with it. I could not have said it better.
All right, we've got fantastic futures in front of us as well. We talk about the volatility index all the time. Why is that? That's the first thing I look at every single day. I think it's the most important. And what are we looking at? Well, over the last month, we're up 18%. We're down 17% in the last 5 days. Year to date, we're up 47%. I know there's a lot of numbers going in there, but take a look at where that thing has stopped. We look over at the volatility index right now. It kind of feels, Justin, like we're planted right around 25. A little bit of low, a little bit higher, but somewhere near that 25 level. We will break it one direction or the other. If it's tariffs, it's probably going to the upside. If it's earnings that are really moving things around, we're probably going down. So the volatility index at 25, I think over the next few days, we will find out. Are we going to 20 or are we going back up into the 30s?
Yeah, my fantastic future is being hijacked by a quick segment I'm calling Justin's Rant of the Day. And today it's about short reports. You know the drill. A firm drops a bombshell report and says sell this stock. Today, it's Kerrisdale Capital targeting QBTS with claims of overvaluation. Same folks who have tried to short IonQ and Oklo and MicroStrategy, often with less than favorable results. Here are my two quick takes. First, if Kerrisdale enjoys paying this much, they should probably just hire a dominatrix. It'd probably be cheaper. Secondly, Wall Street loves a good scare story, but let's be honest, these short reports are starting to look a lot more like performance art than financial analysis. Kerrisdale's track record, let's just say if their shorts were any tighter, they'd cut off their own circulation. So to everyone watching, please don't let fear hijack your future. Do exactly what Pete just talked about. Take a look at the earnings and let those facts guide your choices.
Oh, man, you got me laughing, man. That's pretty good. All right, let's get after our four stocks. We always hit four stocks every day. Hims and Hers, this one's pretty interesting. This partnership that they've got going with Novo Nordisk, that's going to be pretty interesting, right? I mean, when you look at this and the FDA and the approval process and weight treatment and all of that, that has been a biggie. And obviously there's names like Lilly and Novo Nordisk and Hims and Hers and working through this whole thing. But Hims and Hers up 25% today based upon this Novo Care pharmacy that allows access for other people. I think it's a really big number right now. When you look at Hims and Hers, look into it a little bit more with some depth, because there is a lot more going on there than a lot of people suspect was going on there, especially when it comes to the weight loss system. They got a strong balance sheet. I like that. The stock's up 25%. How do you not like that? It's got a 47 PE. It's a little bit high, but based upon where the short interest is, 27 to 30% short interest, I think there's a lot of good things going on, and maybe there's a little bit of a squeeze happening as well. What do you think, Justin?
I like it a lot. Hims is something that we've liked a lot in the Rebel Roundup for a while. We saw some Uleway in this a little while back. It hasn't quite made it to that point of break even yet around the May 40 strike call spreads into the 50s. But honestly, Hims reminds me a little bit of Hood. It's something that's really kind of under-respected in its space, but has a ton of potential, especially with the idea of mailing you things discreetly that you might be not interested in going to the doctor for.
Mhm. All right, next up, we're going to go to SoFi. SoFi is an interesting one. I mean, we've talked about this name for many, many years. Obviously, they've got a stadium that they named down in LA not too many years ago, but this is a lending bank that it's got the app. They've raised their guidance for 2025. When I look at what they were able to do with the Q1 earnings that they beat, the membership growth that they've got, the CEO is old Nodo, who's been around for a long time, very innovative guy. There's a lot going on, and because of that, stock somewhere around 14 bucks, something like that. They've got a short interest of about 13%. It's really, really interesting. And we had a little bit of unusual option activity going into this one. 120,000 of the May 15 calls getting bought. When did that happen? Yesterday. So, I mean, somebody had a feeling on this one, or at least they thought they did, and it looks like they were right because the stock made a pretty nice move and advanced up towards that 15 level. But I think 14, 15 is where it popped out. Nonetheless, it was a really big jump, and there's a lot of happy people out there who made a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had bought 70,000 like a week ago, and they bought another 120,000 or rolled into about 120,000 literally yesterday. Like you said, I liked it. I was kind of hoping for more of a pop here, but you can't complain. It's a nice little gain. You got to take it and move on to the next one.
When those gains almost double, I'd say overnight, that's not so bad. And I know you agree with me on that. So I think a lot of discipline is being there as far as taking off a big chunk. They haven't taken all of it off, but they've taken a big chunk of it off for sure. How about NXP Semiconductor? Now, this one, it's pretty interesting because there's a lot of things going on here that I think have people confused. The CEO, he announced his retirement. Why is that? I think it caught a lot of people off guard and a lot of confusion because of that. They have issues with tariffs, the uncertainty, the change in the management, and all the rest of it. I think people are very just puzzled by this. And when you're puzzled and you don't really know the answers to a lot of the questions that you'd like to ask, that's when people come out and just start selling. And that's exactly what we're seeing. This stock is down about what, 17%? Not so great. And this is one of those names where we've talked about these semiconductors for a long time. They've been a hit for a long time, but right now they're getting hitting right in the face in a lot of cases. And NXPI is the one that's getting hit the most today.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not one of the most loved semiconductor names, which does not help them here. They did do all right on the earnings, but yeah, when the CEO steps down and you have this kind of overarching worry about tariffs, I think you're right. I think the split second reaction of Wall Street is to sell. Who knows if this selling will hold? I think they'll probably end up being okay in the long run. But yeah, right now it's a tough trade.
All right, we're going to go to eat. We're going through these pretty quick. I like it, man. We're going and picking them up and putting them down. Brinkers is the name, but all kinds of different food items out there that they're a part of. Chili's being one of them. They had a strong Q3. That was good. They had solid full year guidance. I think that was pretty good. They lifted up their revenue numbers. That was good. Everywhere I looked, I see something good, except for one thing. It's the stock itself that's getting beat up today. It's down like 14, 15, 16%. It's interesting because it wasn't too far off of the highs. So maybe people were looking at that. But I look at a stock that the PE is 16 right now. And they had a great quarter. They put out great guidance, all of that. Obviously, there are probably concerns about tariffs and how that might affect things. I get that. But I just keep looking and looking and looking for a reason of why it's gotten sold off as much as it has. It just doesn't make sense to me. And you've got a short interest of 12%. So the opportunity for maybe the squeeze seemed like it might be there. That ain't happening today. They're not squeezing. They're getting pushed to the downside. Maybe some of that covering of the shorts steps in at some point today.
Yeah, I wish I understood exactly why EAT was doing so poorly today as well. I honestly don't. Like you said, everything about this quarter was great. And Chili's and Little Italy, these seem like the type of places that are cheap enough already to eat at that they could afford to raise their prices a little bit, cut back some of the, I don't know, the cheese that they're putting on the pasta. Who knows what they could do, but it seems like they have levers that they could pull that Wall Street would understand that they could be able to come out of this tariff and inflationary bout all right. I would say maybe this is an opportunity to do what we talked about and say, hey, the earnings are all right. Maybe you buy the dip.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting for sure. I agree with you. I think you almost have to. Everything I've seen so far has been great. Now there's a little bit of caution from one of the folks out there who covers it, but caution isn't something I think that should scare you off, especially when the stock, they just produced these great numbers. You would think that would be enough, and I guess today it's just not. All right, Justin, your favorite part of this whole thing is the sports, so we're going to jump into this right now. We're talking about the NFL now. It was a really, really big week, but let's listen to this video first and take a look at this. This is phenomenal.
They took him off, and they took him off because the owner said take him off.
Talking about Shedeur Sanders for the people who don't know.
Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself. His attitude off the field at the combine, his dad didn't help him either. You know, he was on podcast talking about, this is my son. If I can get him to where I want to get him to, I'm going to do that. But, you know, when you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about, you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. I mean, he's very high on himself. And I think he was very off-putting to many coaches and general managers in the league. And I'm telling you right now, and I know this after talking to 3 different personnel people.
Boomer Esiason, for the people who don't know, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals for a very long time.
They took him off. And they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. I don't want this entitled person on our team. I don't blame him.
You know what? It's unfortunate because here's a kid, you know, he's a young man, right? I mean, he's going to make some mistakes, but I think some of that would be the arrogance factor. And I think that's what Boomer's talking about here. And the fact that, you know, let's be honest, Dion could be somebody who could be very polarizing potentially for wherever his son was going to go. I don't think he's got the same sort of moves that he would have had the kid gone in the first 3 or 4 or 5 picks rather than going in the 4th or 5th round. So, you know what? Maybe that will humble him to some degree. There was another quarterback, by the way, Justin, who was picked before him in this draft. So that's probably pretty humbling as well. I think there's a lot of things, but we'll see how that all plays out. Now, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers are an interesting team, so I'm going to jump over to that real quick. Everybody's talking about, okay, we've gone through the combines, we've gone through the draft. Where is Aaron Rodgers? And I know that you're not the biggest football guy in the world, but I know that you would know who Aaron Rodgers is. He's been around the NFL for a long time. He's a 40-year-old guy who's still has the ability to play in the NFL, I think. But the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to kind of push it down the road. They do not really have a quarterback there yet. And they haven't had a quarterback who's quarterback one for them since they had a guy named Roethlisberger who was there. He's been retired for a while now. So they did draft somebody, Will Howard of Ohio State, but he's in the 6th round. They got another guy, Mason Rudolph, a few years ago, going back to 2018. He was in the 3rd round. So they haven't really gone out and found that quarterback. And I keep thinking that Aaron Rodgers is the guy who probably steps in over there. I know it sounds crazy for me to ask you this way, but what do you think? I mean, as an outsider, sort of, what do you think of a guy like Aaron Rodgers and the fact that he went to the New York Jets, it did not work, and now he's trying to find a home, and he hasn't found a home yet? What do you think of something like that? Would you want a guy like that on your team who he has his own issues probably as well?
I think both stories are really similar in a way because both people are super talented and have kind of had these outside of football things pervade maybe the story about how they fit into a team, right? With Shedeur, Boomer's talking about, hey, whether he's good or not, do we really want him on the team if he could be this toxic force that could maybe kind of bring down the energy with all of this showboating that he might be doing? And with Aaron Rodgers, you know, I haven't seen any evidence that he's necessarily a bad guy at all. But obviously there's this like over politicization with some of his appearances and things he said on some podcasts and stuff like that, that I think at this stage in the, you know, in the ecosphere of what we're all talking about, I think is a lot more acceptable now. And I think a lot of us can kind of understand where he was coming from. But at the same time, it still sort of is this shadow that casts itself over his career. So, I mean, would I want him on my team? Hell yeah. It sounds like a buy the dip opportunity to me, but that's coming from That's coming from a like an investing mindset.
Hey man, I think it's like Brinker. I think he you got to buy him. And I think if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think you at this point in time, based on the draft, where you are, what your quarterback room looks like, I think you're exactly right. And you're buying him on the dip. I mean, the possibility, if he wants to play, you probably don't have to pay him nearly as much as what the New York Jets did. And I think that's an opportunity. They have a great coaching staff. They have a great defense. They have a very good offense, except at the quarterback position. So it almost is packaged up perfectly for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision there. I really believe that. How about this one? Number 2. During the draft, there were some guys out there, more than one, but there were some guys. One of them is the son of a defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, right? Somehow he got a hold of some of the numbers of some of the players that are in the draft and started pranking and calling guys up and saying, hey, this is Jim Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'd love to just let you know that we just took you in the first round. I mean, talk about offensive. My God, these kids, you bring up their expectations. They think it's real and it's a prank. That's something that a lot of people have been talking about. How did they get the numbers? How did they do this? But I just look at it from the standpoint of talking about breaking a guy's heart. My gosh, you go in there and you do that. So I have come up with something that I think would be really something that people could use to figure out whether or not this was fair or not. So what it is I got a guy who's wrestling alligators down here in Florida, and I'm going to have Jared put up the film because I think these guys are going to have to do the same thing. All right, you think it's funny? You're going to have to do what this guy does. Look at this 10-foot gator here on the interstate.
This is my favorite superhero, Florida man, for anyone who doesn't know.
This guy does this for a living, by the way, but still. How about these guys have to do that? How about the guts on this guy? I mean, honestly, look at this.
Like it's an everyday thing, like taking out the trash.
He gets a little help. They put it up there. I mean, that thing weighs a few pounds. I'll tell you what, I don't think these guys would ever make a prank call again in their entire life, and it might stop a lot of other people from prank calls if they had something like that. What do you think?
It's more than just a prank call, too. It's kind of fraud, right? It's bordering on. I don't want to say that, but it's bordering on very, very bad. Honestly, I mean, you hate to be somebody who thinks that their life is going to change, and then you find out that it was just a prank. Like, who is that prank even for? Who derives joy from that? That's terrible.
It's awful. I feel bad for the players because, they're just waiting for the time of their life. I mean, this is the biggest day of their lives, is sitting there for the draft, whether it's the NBA, the NHL, NFL, whatever. I mean, you've worked your whole life to get there. You're probably 20 years old, maybe 21 years old, and all of a sudden you get this prank. I mean, that's pretty brutal. So I'm endorsing the idea that these guys are going to have to wrestle some gators in the future.
I endorse it as well. That's a good
Justin,
idea.
really appreciate you, man. You last minute, and you're here. You're an animal. You covered the stuff great, as you always do. I really appreciate that. I don't know if we'll have John tomorrow, but if we don't have John, suit up again. Look forward to seeing you, man. And everybody else, have a great day of trading.